Hi, my name is Kyle Pauletto, and here at SIFTER, we're proud to bring you some of the best independent games journalism in Australia. I'm excited to introduce a brand new weekly show to the SIFTER roster, a gaming news show called Walkthrough. I'll let you know which company has been bought out this week, all the blockbuster titles that have just been announced, the controversies, and the exciting developments every Sunday. I'll also give you an update on the titles out this week and go in depth with some of the biggest stories. I hope you'll join me as I guide you through the news on Walkthrough, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you like to listen.
Hello and welcome to Mainstream by Sifter. My name is Mitch, and today my co-host is Gianni, the executive producer of Sifter. How you going, mate?
Hello, Mitch. Long time no Mainstream. Excited to have you on.
I'm never on these, but that changes now. If this is your first time listening to the show on Mainstream, we, the team at sifter.com.au, discuss our experiences playing a variety of big AAA titles. Not usually the indie stuff that we usually talk about. Other smaller micro games and indies, retro releases, and newly issued games. So we cover them all here. Not an interview. We don't interview developers on this show. We talk about our experiences and what we like about the games we've been playing. This week we are heading into the ancient Hisui region to play POKÉMON Legends Arceus. Let's jump right in.
Sit down for a chat with your pals in video games. This is Mainstream.
All right, POKÉMON Legends Arceus.
So, controversial Pokemon game. People didn't like the look of it. They didn't like how it looked. They didn't like any of the promo material. All the trailers were just getting absolutely dogged out on YouTube. Our own Adam didn't like it in our meetings. He spent a lot of time complaining about it. But Gianni and I have been playing it, and I have been pleasantly surprised. What about you, Gianni?
I think it's a perfect example of why you should never judge a book by its cover, because I think what this game does really well is it has a lot of the familiar aspects of Pokemon that you would know and love. The collecting of monsters, battling them, traveling across a land, discovering new vistas and all that sort of stuff, and it also chucks out a bunch of the old stuff which felt really old-fashioned if you think about it, and yeah, it mixes it up in a way that is a semi-open world adventure through an ancient Japanese inspired land called Hisui, which is the precursor region to what you would know in Diamond and Pearl versions as the Sinnoh region. And yeah, I think it's a really honestly a breath of fresh air. It is a year that we have also had Diamond and Pearl remakes as well. Not that long ago, they came out sort of late last year, Mitch, and that was the same region, but this is a new fresh take. And I think a few of us were kind of curious as to how things would sort of be mixed up in this. So, Mitch, can you tell me, I guess, from the outset, what are some of the changes that you've noticed so far in this game from previous versions?
Before I go into the changes, I just want to say that it has proven yet again that I'm always right about video games. Because I was right about Fallout 76, I was right about Anthem, and in the opposite way, I was right about this Pokemon. It was cool, and I always thought it was going to be cool, and everyone else is wrong.
You're a tastemaker, Mitch. We've always said that.
No, I am. No, I'm the only person that really knows what they're doing. In terms of things that I'm really liking about this Pokemon, I'm liking how the Pokemon are more companions in this than like a means to an end. You can have them out whenever you want. I always thought the cool part about the anime was like, the main character and their Pokemon would hang out and like they would be more like pets or more like the line between pet and piece of equipment is a bit blurred in this game. I think in the previous Pokemon games, it was a bit clinical the way you handled the Pokemon. Like they were just essentially almost like picking up a gun in Halo at their worst, and at best, maybe you could like interact with them in like another window or like in the daycare center. I like how you can have all of them out at once and take pictures with them around things. I love that. One of my main favorite things, actually, part of this game is you can now rotate out the Pokemon moves whenever you want. Brilliant. You can just create loadouts with each Pokemon, which I think is a definite step in the right direction. Unbelievable. Love it. Can't believe it took that long. And they seem to have done away with the key moves that you were required to navigate around the world. For example, the rock breaking and tree cutting, and I can't fly yet, but I'm assuming that's gone too, because all those things are just non-existent. I think a lot of quality of life
Have
things
slowly worked away from HMs for quite a while now. So they started getting rid of them in Pokemon Sun and Moon. That was the first version that started to basically get rid of them. HM still existed, but they were just battle moves. They weren't utility moves like they've been for most of the other games. But in this one, yeah, they just basically don't exist. And part of the story of it is building up these sort of maneuverability throughout the world and other utility as well.
Because I always thought that, like, oh well, like, why can't my Onyx break this rock? I mean, it can. It should be able to just by looking at it, but unfortunately it can't because it doesn't know the specific move, which I need to teach it, which takes away its utility in the main thing that you do in Pokemon, which is fight other Pokemon. Which actually in this game, the main thing you do isn't actually fighting. It's cataloging. Like to progress, to progress through the story and to progress in your character and your development, it's not really about catching Pokemon, it's about seeing them do specific things, and which I really like. I love that about that too. I think it's more about discovery, and I do like how Pokemon are a legit danger. Like, they almost talk about them like, I don't know if anybody listening has seen the anime Attack on Titan, but they kind of talk about Pokemon like they're a big scary monster out in the open, and if you encounter one, you better be ready. And it's reflected in the gameplay. Like, you can encounter these giant Pokemon that are scary and can kill you. Like, they can hurt you as the player. And that is very cool to me. I like that.
So I think what's really interesting about the Pokemon series is quite often they have sort of like a tick-tock where, usually there'll be multiple games that come out every sort of generation, technically, but one will really mix up the genre a bit more, or mix up the series a bit more, and one will be much more traditional. And I think we've seen that with, the Diamond and Pearl remakes that just came out end of last year. They're much more of a traditional Pokemon game as you would know it, and then this one is a lot of a mix-up as well. And similar to the Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, which actually went and changed a bunch of things. And I remember when we first started talking about that game, one of the big changes they made was that you don't battle Pokemon to capture them wild Pokemon in the wild anymore, right? And everyone was like, hang on a second, how have they done that? We've done that since Red and Blue. When you actually get to playing it, you realize, you know what? Battling Pokemon every single time when you want to catch them, quite tedious. It takes a really long time, and you don't realize how much of your time you spend literally just trying to get them to exactly the right amount of health so that you can throw a Pokeball and catch them. And Pokemon Legends Arceus does a very similar thing. In fact, you can spend a lot of your skills in the world to get yourself in a good position to effectively catch Pokemon off guard. You just yeet a Pokeball at them, smash them in the back with a Pokeball, and catch them. And I was talking to you the other day, Mitch, and I managed to catch a Lucario, which was like an alpha variant, which is like a super strong, high level version of it. I managed to just sneak up to it in an area, and I threw a particular specialist Pokeball at it, and I caught it in one go. And I thought, well, that would have been quite an annoying fight to get, and definitely a Pokemon I wanted to get. And I was able to get it first shot just by thinking strategically in the world, by positioning myself as I'm going. And that's, I guess, the big difference is, you're not, unlike previous series where you would just run through grass, or even in Sword and Shield, which came out not that long ago, you'd see Pokemon in the world and you'd have to run up to them and battle them. That isn't the way. You exist in the same world. There is no real super distinction between a Pokemon battle and the running around in the world, and it's like a real breath of fresh air, I reckon.
I think it's also good that Arceus also has the traditional engage it and beat it up and throw a Pokeball at it, because that's how I got my dinosaur Pokemon. I caught my big Rapidash, the big Rapidash you see at the first area. I caught that live on stream. That'll be available on our YouTube channel. Me doing that, Sifter HQ. Yeah, check it out. And I caught that live at the end of the show by essentially attacking it and doing it the old-fashioned way. So you can still do it. So they haven't left. I don't think they've really taken anything away from Pokemon with this game, which is very intelligent. Like, everything you like about Pokemon is still there. You can even run through long grass and something will attack you eventually. Like that. It is still, everything's still there. I don't think there's anything missing. Even there are some engagements that do feel a lot like gym battles as well. Even though there's no gym in the game, there are still some engagements with other trainers that kind of feel like it, and it's not completely gone. So, smart move.
I guess the other big change that's come in with this one is they've introduced these noble Pokemon, they call them, and they call them like they're basically the big boss battles that you've got to do, and it's as much of a movement puzzle and a maneuverability puzzle as it is a Pokemon battle. So in a number of them, they're doing AOE effects on the ground, and you need to stand in particular positions and match their patterns and things as they're launching these attacks out there. And then you wait for the opportunity, and then it becomes a bit more like a traditional Pokemon battle where you actually battle them with your Pokemon to a point, you weaken them, and then you just throw these things they call balms at the BALMS balms at them to soothe them, to calm them down. It's not like a legendary Pokemon fight in the other games, but you're actually trying to fight them in a way. And actually, I'm like, if all the Pokemon battles, even the legendary ones, were like that, that's like an amazing way to build out a world. And it's a really interesting way to play a game, because before in every previous version, where your trainer was positioned made no difference to it was all about, as you said, your weapons, which were effectively what your Pokemon were, right? It was all about your stats and your weapons and where they were placed. Now it is a lot more about where you are as a person inside this space. And to that point that you spoke about before, there's a really strong emphasis about the physicality and the danger of these things that the characters in this world don't really understand and are trying to learn more about. So it's quite clever. And I think another thing that is new to this series, which I think is really, really cool as well, is to your point where you're using your research, you're going out observing Pokemon, you're seeing them use specific moves, you're capturing them, or giving them a berry or whatever it is in the world. You're looking at them, and that's the way you earn money in this game. There's no Pokemon battles that'll give you money. You get paid as part of your job, basically. And the other thing is that you don't need to even go and spend that money on items that you would normally be sinking money into. So you can collect items in the world and craft all the main equipment that you need just by roaming around the world and finding materials. I basically always had a huge stack of Pokeballs as I was running around, and Great Balls and Ultra Balls and all that sort of thing, just because I would just, every time I saw a resource, as I was racing past it, I would jump off my horse, effectively my Stantler upgrade, and throw a Pokeball at an item, send my Pokemon off to capture it for me, and then jump back on my horse and keep going. And it just made resource gathering in the world like really fun. Did you get an opportunity to play a bit of that way?
Yeah,
Mitch?
I just got my horse, and I am pretty. I like how you can just send your Pokemon out to pick stuff up for you. That's pretty good. I think it would be slightly better if the Pokemon just followed you around and just did all that. But that's just me. I'm super lazy. I do like how there is no real money you need to be spending, so I've spent it all on buying clothes for Dawn. That's all I've been doing. I've been pretty much playing the game to essentially get more clothes for my character, which is fantastic. I do have a couple of criticisms, though, which is something that I think it is let down slightly by the quality of the physical controls that you get with a standard Nintendo Switch. I think if you're going to be required to do a lot of that complicated moving and dodging and everything like that in those legendary beast encounters, I actually don't think that the standard Switch Joy-Cons are up to the task. Because, and it's not the game's fault. I think the hardware is just not up to scratch, which is a shame because those Joy-Cons are really expensive, and I don't think you should have to buy new equipment to accommodate a game. But that's just
Well, I
how I
guess
feel.
that's the utility of the Joy-Con, right? It's a pretty versatile controller, but it's definitely a jack of all trades, a master of none. And
Yeah,
playing with something like
the joysticks just aren't good enough.
and the triggers as well, I feel sometimes let you down. I've had moments where I've definitely pressed the face buttons on the controller to dodge out of the way of enemy attacks, especially in those noble battles, and noticed that I didn't get the responsiveness that I expected from that, and I'd ended up getting hurt or killed, and it had stopped me from winning a battle. I definitely agree with that. But I think that for most people, that is going to be the way that they play it too.
Yep. And but that's not really a game thing. I think also there's too much talking. In the beginning of the game, there is so much text to read, it's ridiculous. And the story has never really been the strong point of Pokemon games for me, so this might be a personal thing for me, but I'm very conscious of the fact that there is about half an hour of just reading, and I don't particularly enjoy that, especially in a Pokemon game, which I have noticed in recent Pokemon games. There has been a lot of talking, which I don't really appreciate, but that also is a personal thing for me, and I do realize that some people really enjoy that aspect of the game. Those would be my two criticisms of Pokemon. One of them is pretty personal, and one of them I think is not really to do with the game. It's more about the hardware that's on. But actually, I think it's worth a mention.
One thing worth mentioning as well, you sort of highlighted at the very top of this episode, but the graphics in this, in some parts, are phenomenal. They look amazing, and you really feel like you're part of the world. But in other parts, you see the limitation of the hardware. You see that obviously this game is doing a lot more in the background than any previous game before it. But when you can see Pokemon for quite a distance, but when they're in the distance moving around, you can see that they're at a very low frame rate. They are moving, it looks like 4 frames a second or something like that. Click, 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 almost like a slideshow. But as you get closer, they become more visible. There's definitely moments where I've noticed, things kind of pop into existence as you get closer to them. Some aspects of the game look, really amazing and beautiful. But others look like, we're talking about a small handheld console that's trying to do a lot of work. And I think that could be potentially where people may have initially balked at the look of this game. I think this is a game that is really good to be played in handheld mode. I think that's where it's going to excel. It would look great on a small screen. When it's up on a bigger TV, I think some of those visual aspects may grate against someone. But I think in terms of how the game plays, for me at least, the way that it looked was a secondary consideration. You're moving so quickly, you're traversing this land so fast that you're zipping past things really quickly. So you take it all in the broadest sense. But I think it's definitely worth mentioning. One thing that I find is mixed, definitely, is there are a bunch of side quests that you can do within the game, characters within the game, or you can pick them up at sort of notice boards as well. Will give you these little tasks, and quite often it'll be like, go and collect X number of items to do this thing, or show me this Pokedex fully completed of this type of Pokemon. Some of those are really good and straightforward and easy to do. Some of them are very difficult and annoying, and the rewards don't seem to really pay off to the same extent. There's still there's still an enjoyable factor, a list ticking sort of factor of completing those quests. So for me, I've done quite a lot of them, but I can see that some of the criticism I've seen other people level at this game is that those quests are effectively useless, and I would say they're not useless because there are things that do unlock about it. But I would prioritize the ones like upgrading the items in the store that you can buy, or doing the quest that gives you more equipment or clothing, because those are the things that feel really rewarding. So that would be my main thing. Mitch, just having a think about this game, and think about your context of playing other Pokemon games, who do you think this game is sort of aimed at, or who do you think will get the most out of it?
That's interesting. I'm a pretty big Pokemon fan, and I think I got a lot out of it. And granted, I haven't actually played that much. I think I played maybe 5 hours tops. I've only got like 2 stars in the Pokedex. I think Pokemon fans are quickly and rapidly approaching the point that Star Trek and Star Wars fans have been at for years, and they are never happy about anything. And if any of you are watching, I think you all need to grow up. It's a game primarily for younger kids, and I think this one actually gears a little older for once. But I think it's for hardcore Pokemon fans, and maybe less for the new people. But yeah, I'm not really sure, because I'm kind of like a middle of the road Pokemon fan. I do have a lot of Pokemon things. I do like them a lot. But I don't think I would have got my hands on this if we didn't have a copy that was kind of given to us by Nintendo, and just because where I am in my life, I just don't think I would have gone for it personally myself. But I'm glad I did, and I'm glad I was right about it being a good game.
Mitch, I've been thinking about this for a really, really long time, is that we always wanted there to be an open world Pokemon game where you ran around and Pokemon were out in the world as much as, it was just basically like an MMO, effectively. We were hoping there would be, World of Warcraft for Pokemon. And this is the closest I think they've come to getting to that dream, with some important caveats that, it's not as open world as you would probably quite like. It's, not even as open world as something like Breath of the Wild, right? And direct comparisons were made between this game and Breath of the Wild when it was first announced. The first sort of visuals everyone sort of thought, oh, hang on a second, is this going to be, the open world Pokemon game? Well, it's semi-open world is what I would say. But the way that it does it, the areas are big. You can get around them relatively quickly once you've unlocked the the different traversal Pokemon to get around the place. But it is it's ever so slowly getting to this place of the ideal of what living in the anime would be like, and I think that's a really cool thing.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. Like, what living in the anime would be like. I think the anime has always been like, it kind of solved a little bit more of like how it would culturally work, and this is getting close to that feeling of like what would it be like what would the impact of it actually be like if you were to have to interact with these things if you had to interact with these creatures every day. I think the best version of that thus far has been Detective Pikachu, in terms of any media, but this gets pretty close in an interactive medium.
There were always caveats and sort of shortcuts and gamey things that had to be in the games to make them playable and fun, but probably as a function of technology, and the ability of the consoles that these previous games came out on. But this, as you said, really feels like a bit more like you're in a world, like you have stepped into a world. And there are plenty of other RPGs that come out, which really does feel like you're, part of a world and you're sort of experiencing the world move around you. And this really does feel like the first Pokemon game that is, approaching that. You aren't needing to be like, okay, well, if I use my head canon, this is the way that it would be. It's, it's starting to get there. It's not 100% there yet, but it's a hell of a lot closer than any of the other games have ever been.
Agreed.
So that's Pokemon Legends Arceus, which is out now on the Nintendo Switch. Thank you to Nintendo Australia for providing us with a review code of this game. You can find playthrough of Pokemon Legends Arceus, where we've got part 2 up on the website right now on sifter.com.au. So if you want to have a look at what it's like to play it and watch Mitch and Fiona talk about it as they're playing the game, go and have a look there.
This is Mainstream.
This has been Mainstream by Sifter. It's the show about the video games that we've been playing as a team over the past couple of weeks, and we were playing our off time. My name is Mitch. Thank you very much for being part of episode 37, Gianni.
No worries at all. Great to be on Mainstream with you, Mitch.
Thanks, and also thanks to Brian Fairbanks from Salty Dog Sounds for composing the Mainstream theme music. Sifter is produced by Nicholas Kennedy, Kyle Pauletto, Fiona Bartholomaeus, Daniel Ang, Adam Christou, and my name is Mitchell Lowe. I am the senior producer, and Gianni Giovanni, my co-producer today, is our executive producer. Gianni, where can listeners find you on the internet and check out some of your work?
The best place to go is Sifter HQ on all the social medias, but mainly Twitter. I am on the Sifter Twitter account quite a bit. So if you see people replying to people online, that's usually me that is doing it. So that's twitter.com/Sifter HQ. You can find us on Twitch as well, where we stream episodes of our podcasts Lightmap, where we stream gameplay like we did with Pokemon Legend Arceus, and a whole bunch of other bits and pieces, or on Instagram or wherever you'd like to find us. That's where we are, and that's where we pull our stuff up online.
We've also got a website here. You can visit us at sifter.com.au. There's articles, video pieces, and more, all that content that Gianni just mentioned. That's all on there. And if you like what you heard, you can tell a friend, because that's the best way you can help us out, by sharing the show with people that might like it. You can also head to the Sifter store to buy cool Australian-made video game t-shirts. So yeah, if you like independent games journalism and you want to support us, you can hit the Sifter store.
While you're on your podcast player as well, we've actually got 2 other podcasts now, and we're talking just a little bit before, Mitch. It's kind of awesome to think when we started this show, 6 and a bit years ago. With one podcast, we've now got 3. A brand new one which has just started up called Walkthrough. It is a weekly news podcast. We recap all the biggest stories of the week. It's really good if you're someone who is not able to keep up with stuff as much as you would like to, but you're still keen to learn a bit more. And yeah, we'll go through, explain those stories for you. And the host is Kyle Pauletto, part of the team, who's a newsreader in his day job, and now does it for Sifter as well in terms of video games news each week. So it's called Walkthrough. We've also, as you talked about, Mitch, we've got another podcast called Lightmap, which is an interview podcast. It's been going for 6 years now. We talk to game developers, creatives, people who are doing really interesting stuff in interactive media. They're always insightful conversations, and if you're interested in the creative process, it's a good podcast to listen to, because you get an insight into what it takes to actually make things. For both those podcasts, if you search in your podcast player, type in Sifter, SIFTER, you'll see our icons there. We've got Lightmap, Mainstream, and Walkthrough. Give us a follow, and yeah, a 5-star rating if you feel like it, or even if you enjoyed it, just tell your friends, as you said, Mitch, because it does make a big difference if you recommend it to someone, if you think they're going to enjoy it. I think that's pretty much it for this episode of Mainstream, talking about Pokemon Legends Arceus. Good to be on the show. Thanks, Mitch.
Yeah, no worries, man.
And until next time, have fun.